First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Gunjan Bansal to invite me as a keynote speaker to speak on this international conference on innovation in multidisciplinary research. Dear researchers, authors, academicians, we all have ethical obligations with regard to the publication, research and dissemination of the results of the research. Researchers have a duty to make publicly available the result of their research on the subjects and are accountable for the completeness and accuracy of their reports. So, dear academicians, dear researchers, research scholars, academic research involves many coordinated steps and processes like appropriate study design, study execution, data collection, data analysis, and finally the publication. While going through these steps and accumulating in a publication can be an exhilarating experience, one should be aware of the ethical code or ethical code of conduct that binds researchers at every stage. So, dear academicians, dear researchers, now I will discuss every point with you step by step. Today's title of my talk is Professional Ethic for Research, Innovation and Publication. So, coming to the first point, ethics. What are ethics? Ethics are norms of conduct that distinguish between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. We can also say ethics are the principles and guidelines that help us to uphold things we value. In very simple words, we can say ethics tell us what is right and what is wrong. Next point, what is research? Research is a combination of two words, re and search. We can define research as the creation of new knowledge or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way so as to generate new concepts, new methodologies and understandings. This could include synthesis and analysis of previous research to the extent that it leads to new and creative outcomes. Moving forward, what is innovation? Innovation is the spark of insight that leads a scientist, a researcher, or inventor to investigate an issue or phenomena. Now, research ethics. What are research ethics? Research ethics involve the application of fundamental ethical principles to planning, conducting and publishing of research. In very simple words, we can say research ethics means that tell us what is good and what is bad, what is acceptable and what is unacceptable in the field of research, to do ethical research, to do ethical innovation and for ethical publication. Now, I will discuss why research ethics. Why do we need research ethics? Research ethic is a sign of respect for other researchers and cause no harm to the participants. It is a professional requirement. It is a requirement to obtain funding, like we make a project, make a research proposal to get funding. If we don't use research ethics, that proposal will get rejected and the funding agency will not give us any funding. So it is a main requirement to obtain a funding. Failing to conduct research ethically results in research or researcher being dismissed or rejected by the research community. So research ethics are very much important, very much essential, very mandatory to conduct a ethical research for ethical innovation. And lastly, publication. Dear participants, now I will discuss with you basic principles of research, innovation and publication ethics. First principle, that is also the principle of our social life, our daily life, that is honesty. We all have been studying from our childhood. Honesty is the best policy. So honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. The first step towards greatness is to be honest. So, dear researchers, dear academicians, we all should be honest in the field of research, innovation and publication. So, dear participants, second principle for research, innovation and publication ethics is objectivity. Then integrity. There should be integrity in the researcher. Then carefulness. We should do every research, every innovation in a very careful manner. Then openness. There should be a transparency. Nothing should be hidden. Then respect for intellectual property. There should be a confidentiality. Respect for the colleagues. We should respect the other colleagues also who are also doing research. Like we should not steal anybody's data or research matter to make our thesis complete or make our research paper complete. So no discrimination. There should not be any discrimination. This discrimination does not come under the research ethics or publication ethics. And last point that is very much important that I will let you know, that is social responsibility. The main motto, main objective of our research is that it should be helpful for the society and our research should be able to give a solution for a social problem that a society is facing. Then it is a real research, true research. So, my dear participants, these were the basic principles of research, innovation and publication ethics. Next, moving ahead, now I will discuss with you the important areas in research and publication ethics. Number one is authorship. Author is a person who writes a paper, who writes that project. There may be one author, two authors, three authors, multi-authors or a single author. But authorship is the important area that is to be considered in the research and publication ethics. The authors, all the authors present in the paper should be true authors. There should be no sleeping author. So, next is plagiarism. People said plagiarism, the right and correct pronunciation of it is plagiarism. We will discuss plagiarism next in detail. Next comes peer review. Peer review means the proposal or the research paper that we have submitted for the publication or the project proposal that we have submitted to get the funding, that is reviewed, that is examined by a committee that is called peer review committee, who reviews the research proposal, who reviews the research process, that it is a true research, tools have been applied ethically and every data is ethical and the project is good. So that is called peer review. This is the main area in the research and publication ethics. Then research with various subjects, and last is research misconduct. So dear participants, dear academicians, coming to the point, I have just discussed with you plagiarism. I already told you that people mispronunciate it. They call it plagiarism. Some call it plagiarism. It is not plagiarism. It is not plagiarism. It is called plagiarism. Plagiarism is the act of stealing someone else's work and attempting it, pass it off as your own. Plagiarism includes copying text, ideas, images, or data for another's source, even from your own publications, without giving credit to the original source. If plagiarism is detected during the peer review process, the manuscript will be rejected. Nowadays, there are various types of tools that may examine the plagiarism, whether your research project or research paper has copied matter or not. IT has developed very much. There are many applications who may detect plagiarism. The very common and very good tool used for detecting plagiarism is Turnitin. There are different types of plagiarism: complete plagiarism, paraphrasing plagiarism, direct plagiarism, inaccurate authorship, self or auto plagiarism, accidental plagiarism, and source-based plagiarism. Complete plagiarism is the most severe form of plagiarism, where a researcher takes a manuscript or study that someone else has created and submits it under his or her name. It is equivalent to intellectual theft and stealing. Partial plagiarism. The second form is partial plagiarism. This is when a person takes work from a multiple amount of authors and just paraphrases text from those authors without doing the actual research. Then next, direct plagiarism. Direct plagiarism is the word for word transcription of a section of someone else's work without attribution and without quotation marks. The deliberate plagiarism of someone else's work is unethical, academically dishonest, and grounds for disciplinary actions, including expulsion. Next coming, self-plagiarism or auto-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism is defined as a type of plagiarism in which the writer republishes a work in its entirely or reuses portions of a previously written text while authoring a new work. This is called self-plagiarism or auto-plagiarism. What is paraphrasing plagiarism? Paraphrasing is a plagiarism if you don't properly credit the original author who has done the research. Paraphrasing is the plagiarism if your text is too close to the original wording, even if you cite the source. If you directly copy a sentence or phrase, you should quote it instead. Next is inaccurate plagiarism. Inaccurate authorship or misleading attribution can happen in two ways. In one form, when an individual contributes to a manuscript but doesn't get credit for it. The second form is the opposite, when an individual gets credit without contributing to the work. Accidental plagiarism. Accidental or Unintentional plagiarism occurs when a writer fails to follow scholarly procedures and accidentally copies parts of work that have already been composed. Last, plagiarism is source-based plagiarism. This type of plagiarism refers to instances when misleading sources are involved. For example, the writer may have two sources of information but only references one. Another form of source-based plagiarism would be when an author quotes a non-existent or incorrect source. Now, as I have already discussed with you that plagiarism, it is an unethical thing in publication, in research, in innovation. We should avoid plagiarism. Now the point comes, how to avoid plagiarism? Simply be honest. In the starting of the basic principles, I have already told you that honesty is a very good thing in every field. It may be our social life, it may be our research, it may be anything. Honesty is the best policy. Honesty gives credit where it is due. Acknowledge the author of the original work you have used. You should give the credit to the author, to the true author with whose work if you are citing there. Use your own work as often as possible. This is very, you can say, easy step, that you do not create plagiarism and you have no fear and you have no way to find out the other way how to remove plagiarism. Use your own work, create your own work. But using someone else's work excessively can be constructed as plagiarism. So create your own work, use your own work. There would be no plagiarism and your research will be a true research. Lastly is quote or cite the sources properly that you are using. Mostly in the research work, in the thesis, in the dissertation, two types of citations we use, that is MLA type and APA type. APA style is American Psychological Association style. It is used in many of the social sciences. APA style uses the author or date method of citation in which author's last name and the year of the publication are inserted in the actual text of the paper. And MLA style is a referencing method developed by the Modern Language Association. It consists of two parts: a brief in-text citation in the body of your essay and detailed list of the works cited at the end of the work. In MLA style, be ordered alphabetically by name of first author or title if the author is unknown. In terms of alphabetizing, this A, N and the should be ignored. Lastly, I would discuss with you ethical guidelines in research, innovation and publication. First thing is educate yourself, then make a thorough research, learn the rules for citation and references. This is very much important. I have already discussed with you references styles, MLA style, APA style, then paraphrase, check your work whether it is true, whether there is any plagiarism or any other thing that is unethical. Cite your source, include quotations, present your own idea. That is, I have already told that it is very easy way to make your research a true research. Create your own idea, present your own idea. That will lead to innovation. Use plagiarism checker. I have already told you that there are many applications that are used to check the plagiarism, like Turnitin and many more. As IT has developed, IT has become very smart, and it is also helped the researchers to detect the plagiarism and make the true and ethical research that will be helpful for the society also. Then understand the values of citation. Double check your work. Put all direct quotes in quotation marks, and when in doubt, give a citation. This all was that I have discussed with you about the professional ethics in research, publication and innovation. So, dear participants, dear academicians, now I would like to conclude my talk. There are various forms of unethical practices that authors, researchers, inventors resort to, sometimes intentionally and occasionally by accident. Being aware of professional ethics, it helps the researchers, innovators and authors to consciously avoid such misconduct and perform honest, ethical research and innovation and pursue publications. So, in the last, I would once again thank the organizers of this international conference and Dr. Gunjan Bansal for inviting me as a keynote speaker to deliver my keynote address in this conference. I would also like to thank the participants, other academicians and other eminent speakers, keynote speakers who have also come here to deliver their talk, for having patience and paying attention to my words. Thanks once again. Good luck, everyone.